Hey, welcome to Scry-fi. We are back. We're going to be talking about Star Wars Acolyte Episode 1, Lost/Found. The last one we did was Ahsoka, I believe. Yeah. So we're back to talk about the Acolyte stuff, and we're going to do one for each episode. Of course, it's going to be spoilers. So go watch the episode first.
We're going to give not just our opinions, but we're going to talk about how details in it relate to other things in Star Wars and Easter eggs and all kinds of interesting
areas. Through all that, we might be doing spoilers of other aspects of Star Wars, but we'll try not to spoil anything too big if you haven't watched, let's say, Rebels.
We'll have definite spoilers on this show, but not necessarily on other Star Wars shows. Unless it's...
I don't like spoilers, so we'll try to make sure that.
Yeah, but we're assuming you've seen the Acolyte episode that we're reviewing. So.
Right. Go watch that first. Obviously. Otherwise, this won't mean anything. So we're going to talk about that. And, let's just jump right in. I guess quick overall feeling before we look at it from like point to point.
Overall for me, I mean, it was Star Wars, so I'm like, oh, cool, Star Wars, and I enjoyed it. The spaceships and all that stuff. Yeah. Cool. Seeing a new era that we haven't seen before. I mean, there's been High Republic, other media put out, so kind of had a general idea. But seeing that live action was cool. I have to say, though, that, and this probably isn't the fault of the show, but my immediate hook, again, I don't feel like an immediate hook the way I did in Andor and the way I did in Ahsoka. And that because it's kind of unfair because those involved either galactic events or characters that we already have investment in. We know who Andor was and we know what that time period. And so this is a whole new thing, but that's kind of what's cool about it is it's a whole new thing. So, if I was going to show this to somebody who was new to Star Wars, I feel like they would be wondering, like, why do I care about this? Okay, somebody killed somebody. It's something that I think you could build interest in as you go into the show. But
even if it wasn't a Star Wars thing, if you're just watching, some assassin in a fantasy world come in and attack and kill someone who's supposed to be like a knight, basically, right? You'd be like, oh,
and then they're invested.
Yeah,
I mean. So
as far as like the hook
like I said, it's not really the fault of the show, but if I'm doing a comparison contrast, those other two series, they had me hooked immediately, and so did Obi-Wan did too. Actually,
I disagree. Actually, I loved Andor tremendously, but I didn't get hooked until the end of the second episode.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Yeah, and it felt a little bit like this one in a way that I was just kind of like, all right, I see what's going on. I like some of the people, but I wasn't like.
For it is the Carrie-Anne Moss scene, the fight scene. I mean, it was awesome.
Yeah, I'm really sad that was in the trailer because I watched one trailer and that was
the trailer didn't show how it ended.
Well,
that was really the surprise part. I assumed she was going to win, or it was good. One of them would run away or something like that. So I'm also assuming and hoping that they didn't lure us into the show with Carrie-Anne Moss. That's her name, right? Carrie-Anne Moss.
Yep. Right.
And then that's it.
Yeah. And Dara, I believe.
What they're probably going to do a flashback to 10 years ago, or no, 16 years ago, or something like that. 14 years ago.
Yeah.
And then we'll see a lot more of her, but it'll be in that time period.
Yeah, I think it was Master Indara was Carrie-Anne Moss's character.
Indara, right.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So we're going to show stuff as we talk about it here. Eventually, let me hit the right buttons to get that working. There we go. So it begins with this, the whole thing telling you it's 100 years before and stuff. That was great. It's interesting that they didn't do the scroll to make it feel like it's a different thing. And
nothing outside of the Skywalker saga is supposed to have a scroll, so
which is interesting.
Yeah,
so I'm fine with that. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, so we get the information that gets us into it immediately, and that's fine.
The 100 years before. So my understanding is that I haven't read or wait, go back to it a little bit. I haven't read or um, gotten much into the High Republic myself, but I've kind of kept up with it, like read about it and what's generally going on and what things are like. I know about the Nile and all that stuff, but that was like 200 years ago. So my understanding is that the High Republic era is like between 200 and 100 years ago. I say ago, I mean before episode 1.
Yeah, I read the first book of the High Republic, and it was interesting and stuff. I just didn't get hooked like I
I've
do
seen
with
some
other
bits and pieces of
ones.
the comics. I kind of generally know some stuff about it, but this would seem to be toward the end of the High Republic era.
Yeah.
You know, and what's interesting too is that you see them, some of them carry in Indara. Master Indara is wearing what looks like the normal Jedi robes you see in the films.
Well, I mean, and we could show that later, but I notice when they're at the temple, they're all wearing like that white, and it's almost like formal
maybe
wear.
it's because they're at the temple.
Yeah, and when you see
as
them
opposed
leave,
to being on an outpost.
Yeah.
Is that what it is? Okay, I thought
I think
maybe
so.
it was different types of Jedi or something, but yeah, that makes a lot of sense.
So we start off with her. You know, we see the face of the assassin. We later find out is May.
All we know is that
she's
she's
in the
from
back.
some other group of Force users. It doesn't even say dark side, really. It just says Force users. But, you know, given how she's acting, maybe dark side in there.
I like her ship in the back. It looks very much like the, you know, like that Sith one that Darth Maul had, I think, with the
Sith infiltrate.
Yeah, it's got some notes to it.
Somewhat, yeah. It kind of, I think the A-Wing had wings like that, too.
Sith infiltrator, yeah. This little thing, by the way, above her, made me think of, let's see, I actually have it here.
The planet in Mandalorian?
Oh, no, actually, that's a different one. Yeah. It made me think of, here, I'll show you this image.
I thought she had a planet that, what's-her-face was on, that Ahsoka showed up to kill her.
This is in episode 7 on Jakku.
Okay.
And it looks kind of similar, right?
Those types of things, I mean, it's supposed to be reminiscent of the Japanese, I don't know what they're called. I can't think of what that's called, but it has a name. And so I think this is like a thing, different design styles of it that you see in different places. I've even seen one on Tatooine.
Oh, okay. It's almost like a gate entrance into our town or something. It seems like.
Yeah. But they're all different in their architectural style on the planet.
I thought that was interesting, though.
Yeah.
I like this little guy.
Who's the person in Mandalorian and Ahsoka who is the Night Sister?
Morgan? Elsbeth Morgan?
What was the planet that she was ruling over?
Oh, yeah, I don't remember what that one is.
That planet also had one of those, I think.
Oh, that's true. Yeah.
Now, this little guy is cool. I liked his little bulb of fluid.
Yeah, you could almost wonder if this is like a Jawa, but requires more stuff.
I think it's just some other small species.
Could be an armored Jawa.
Yeah, but what's that little red thing? The fluid in it.
I don't know. It's the way that it breathes on here instead of the air. Maybe it takes away a lot of moisture because it doesn't like it in the.
It must be a similar Jawa.
It doesn't have to be
Jawa-like entity.
I have always wondered, you know, if Jawa were to leave Tatooine and get armor and stuff like that, what would they look like? You know, I had a character like that.
We've seen. In fact, I was really surprised to see Jawa on another planet in the Mandalorian series, and there they had red eyes. Slight cultural differences, I guess, between tribes of Jawa.
Yeah,
but yeah.
Now this bar was really cool. It made me think, like, I wonder if this is kind of, because I remember hearing that George Lucas was disappointed in the cantina scene. I would love to know what he thought of these.
Well, it's a very Star Wars-y they got the Star Wars feel very good. I was wondering, what is the Jedi Master just doing hanging out in a bar,
Well, they said that this was her section. I believe that Jedi are kind of assigned areas in the galaxy whenever they're away from the temple.
Sure,
And
I
if
know that
this
they
is her
these
planet
remote
or
temples.
whatever, yeah.
Yeah, and they
So if
do
this is
work.
her section, then she probably hangs out with a lot of local people to hear information about what's going on and all. If she just holed up in some temple or something, then she wouldn't be
No,
able to
being out in
hear
the
all the stuff.
world is
Yeah.
assumed. Maybe she was there to talk to somebody. It was on some other mission. But I also noticed later in the plot they say something like, "Well, she hasn't practiced for many years," or something like that.
Oh, I thought they were talking about OSHA.
It sounds like something they would say about OSHA. Maybe I misheard that.
Yeah.
Okay, so I thought maybe at first she might have been estranged, but I saw no indication of that later. So I guess not.
It is kind of weird that she's sitting at a table full of people laughing and talking and stuff, and she's just
Yeah.
doing that kind of. I understand, like it was a cool reveal to kind of turn
It
and
would
look.
be interesting to know why she was there and what she was doing, but
Yeah.
it may be relevant to the plot, just doing Jedi stuff.
Yeah. Jedi stuff. I thought her reaction to all of this, like attack me and all that, she's just
Yeah.
like,
And she sure let it go for quite a few bruises on civilians before
yeah.
she jumped in, too.
I think had she attacked with a weapon, then that wouldn't have been the case. But she's sitting there, hitting all the
Yeah.
people in bar and stuff.
That was cool there.
Yeah, where she kicks a whole table over.
And he shoots the table.
Yeah.
I really like the bartender alien, too. It wouldn't be
Oh yeah, he was cool.
but I like the design of that alien.
So this was interesting where during their fight, and we could talk about this a little bit
She's
more
trying
later.
to get that lights.
Yeah, she goes for the lightsaber, and we see that again later on in the series. But
Yeah, with a different opponent, she tries to get the lightsaber.
I'm seeing later on we find out that there's some kind of trial that she's doing. This is her trial where she has to kill a Jedi with no weapon, basically, right?
So maybe if she's thinking if they don't have a weapon, it'll be easier for me to fight them without a weapon.
Yeah, because she's got to be thinking at some point this Jedi's going to pull this lightsaber and then I'm dead.
Yeah.
Because there's no beating that.
In fact, that's what it's got to be about, not the lightsaber, because later when she kills her, she leaves the lightsaber on the ground.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. So she doesn't care about that.
It's just a tactical thing. She's trying to get the lightsaber away from her.
Yeah. The weird thing about this is that she is obviously sorely mismatched against Endara.
True,
you're watching,
although she ended up winning.
Sure, but by using a trick, right?
Yeah.
Otherwise,
it was
if Endara really knew that her end was coming and it was life or death, she could have just ended it like that.
It's like in a game when you're rolling dice and they've got a better bonus to their die, but you roll a high number and they roll a low number, and works out even though the odds were against you.
Is it hubris?
I guess so, but I mean I guess it's no different than Darth Maul thinking he could beat a master and an apprentice together, or
he almost did.
Maybe that's how you excel, is by pushing yourself beyond your limits and hoping to survive it.
Yeah. It's just that if Endara for any reason was like, okay, I'm going to kill this person, she would have been dead like that. Right? I mean, I'm just not.
Tried to spare her over and over and over.
Right.
Yeah. Which is unusual too. And in fact, I think the show acknowledges that it's unusual because she pulls her lightsaber out and she said if a Jedi draws their lightsaber, they should only do it if they intend to use it, to kill.
Right.
And that's pretty much what we see as true. Obi-Wan didn't pull out his lightsaber in the cantina and say, back away or I'll cut your arm off. He pulls it out and cuts the arm off,
Right.
Because the Jedi don't use fear as a tool. So if somebody needs to get sliced, then you pull the lightsaber and slice them. And if they don't, you don't pull the lightsaber.
Yeah.
But using it for blocking, I guess, is okay too. But
Sure. I also noticed in this scene right here that May has some kind of spiral design on her forehead, and it's really hard to see anywhere else. I was looking for it.
I didn't notice that.
Yeah, and I can't tell, but I don't think that Osha has it. And we know that Osha has a tattoo. Later on, we'll see that.
Yeah. Well, that's
So there are markings to make it so not so easy for them to be accidentally, to pretend like the other one.
Mm-hmm.
So this is where she knows who she is at this point, right?
Mm-hmm.
I guess it's not a presence that she knows so well that she would have felt it beforehand.
Well, not only that, but she walks into a Jedi temple later, and none of those Jedi sense her. So she's got some sort of like hide my presence powers.
Yeah,
some kind of like sneaky. I'm sure that's a thing, especially for dark side users.
Yeah, you don't sit across the desk from Yoda without having some ability to hide.
Right. I mean, obviously Palpatine hid for years
Right.
in plain sight. So they obviously have some way to cloak themselves, their presence from being sensed. Not that it's probably a contest between censor and sensee.
Yeah.
But
this fight was amazing. I love the choreography. Felt very kung fu style. Even did wire work.
Felt very Jedi to try to,
right?
Just be so defensive like that if you didn't have to.
But I mean, they did great wire work where she kind of like skirts up the side of the wall and gets up on top and everything like that. I really like the look of it, and for whatever reason, the wire work feels right with Jedi because that they're using the Force to move around, right?
Yeah, kind of like the Matrix.
Yeah,
works for that.
Yeah, and this whole thing where that's how she does it.
Yeah, it's kind of like what
Jedi's weakness,
trying to bring down that thing on Obi-Wan and Anakin so that he could get away, knowing that the Jedi will have to defend the innocent.
Yeah, that's their weakness.
Yeah, so this totally surprised me. I was like, "What?"
I know.
It's starting to become obvious we're going to get a flashback. Maybe several episodes of flashback. Maybe half of the season will go back.
So why do you? Well, I think we'll get some flashback with her again. But are you just saying that because she's such a huge star that she shouldn't have more than just this one scene?
I seriously doubt they said Carrie-Anne Moss in the show, and then
I know
going to have her in the first few minutes, and now she's gone.
I really hope so, because I was even thinking like, well, it's not quite in the heart. Maybe it's just over, and maybe she'll,
Yeah, I thought maybe you'd think she was dead, and you found out that people came and saved her life after that. But
the healing power.
They're going to do it with flashbacks, I'm sure.
Yeah, I mean, it's just so. I have to be honest. I felt a little cheated whenever I saw it.
Yeah,
I was like,
well, I thought I felt cheated for a minute, and then I thought, "There's no way they would do that because people would be pissed." I think also that they're setting up the story to obviously be about this mysterious series of events that went on with these 4 Jedi back then. So it makes perfect sense. We're going to get to see what that is.
Yeah, it's kind of a Kill Bill series.
Yeah.
Where May is, Uma Thurman. But yeah, this was a disappointment for me. Right at this scene, I was like, "What? No!" And it wouldn't have been so bad if they hadn't made this the trailer.
Oh, no.
That made me think, "Oh, this is going to be a Carrie-Anne Moss series."
Yeah,
because she's such a great actor.
I still say that we're going to get a lot more of her. I think.
I hope so.
I think it's going to be a lot of flashback. But one thing, though, that's kind of against what I just said is I noticed that in a lot of these streaming series, they've been doing this particular thing. So there's a series with I think it's called Invasion. It's about like some aliens invading the Earth and stuff.
That's
And they
Apple
have,
TV.
huh?
Apple TV, right?
Yeah. And so the first episode has Sam Neill, and they're all like, "Oh, Sam Neill's in this show." And he is in one episode and gets kind of zapped away and doesn't show
No.
up till the very last episode again. So it's like you're using him for marketing purposes. You don't have to pay him as much because he's only in the beginning and end because the way you've structured the story. And
Weird.
then that okay, so that was just one series, and I figured out what they're doing there. Then I see it again with
Some other series.
yeah, I can't remember, but some other series I've seen them do that
Are you
with.
wondering that that's what's happening here?
So now I'm wondering, like, are they doing that technique?
Yeah, I don't know. I don't feel like Disney is
Peekaboo,
holding
whatever you
back
want
the
to call it.
money on this one, though.
Yeah, I kind of doubt it, and one of the reasons I doubt it is just because they made such a big deal of putting her in the preview, and they're setting up this story to have this big mysterious event that took place a long time ago. So they're gonna show it.
Yeah. So that trying to get a good there he is.
Yeah, he's
that guy's
cool.
really cool.
I really like that species.
Yeah. Yeah, there were a bunch of different species in this cantina that we've never seen before.
True.
I like all these.
I've only seen a few species in this that I have seen before, but I did see some. But it depends on what sector of the galaxy you're in and all that.
So I like that the logo has the two rings in there, the light side, dark side twin thing going on. It's pretty cool.
I didn't even notice that. Yeah.
When this first happened, of course, I didn't know anything about this series. So when she woke up, I was like, "Oh, this must be a few days later, or maybe we went back a year."
He was like, by night, I'm a dark side user who goes out and gets stuff, and by day, I pretend to be this mechanic person. But it wasn't very long before I figured out that that's not her.
Well, this is where I was looking for the little spiral things.
Oh, and I didn't.
And I thought, oh wait, maybe this is like the reason why she just killed that Jedi. Like,
a flashback.
I thought we were going to see more Carry-On and Moss because then we were going to see.
Oh, like we've already moved back in time.
Right. We were going to see the story of everything that happened.
Yeah, I didn't.
And then it would jump back. But
I just thought, oh, this is not her. This is somebody else. And I started thinking it really early, like before she even got out on the surface of the ship. I already knew this was not her, and I thought, well, maybe. First thing I thought was maybe it's a twin sister, and then it could have been a shapeshifter or a hologram or something like that. But
that's true. We've seen that before.
Yeah, but she seemed really sincere in her desire for vengeance. So I thought, well, twin sister seems the most likely. But I like the
I just didn't think
years ago Gonk droid.
Yeah. I like that this guy talked about going to Now Hutta the last night. That was fun.
That's cool.
So, yeah, I like that so she goes outside to repair. Oh, they're on a Trade Federation ship.
Yes. We get a mention of the Trade Federation and we get to see Neimoidians, which is cool.
Yeah. And they all, that's a good shot of them. Mm-hmm. They're fun. I like his little fringes. And he's got like a little
more realistic than the ones in episode.
That's true. 2. But look, he's got like the little general things with the fringes and stuff, as if he's like some big important dude. Yeah, I like all the little details they did with these guys. I thought it was interesting that it's illegal to have what they call them mechanics.
It's probably
mechanics.
OSHA regulation.
Right. Yeah.
OSHA.
And of course they're breaking.
I guess once you have droids that can do that, then having workers do unsafe stuff like that seems even more unpalatable because you've got a safer alternative.
Right. This droid, by the way, I like the whole idea of this multi-use droid.
Yeah, it's cute. It's kind of cool.
Although I did freak out when she ripped its head off.
But it's it detaches, right?
It's supposed to, right? But she
So you
just
can
takes it and
connect it
goes,
with
boop. I'm like, oh,
the
you just break the droid?
yeah.
Yeah.
That right there is a toy, is what that is, so they can sell
Oh, yeah.
it.
That's going to
You
be an
can-
expensive toy, though.
yeah.
So this scene where she starts looking at the fire and stuff, this is the scene where I started going, oh, this isn't the same person.
Uh-huh.
Because she's been so happy and bubbly. I was like, well, is this like a
Yeah.
secret persona or anything like that? But talking with the droid and stuff didn't seem right. So I thought, okay, it's earlier. But then with the fire and stuff, I was like, oh, wait, this is something different.
Yeah. Also, thing about the illegal to go outside and do that, that kind of also explains why it's so rare in Star Wars to see spacesuits.
Hmm.
You don't really see
Yeah,
people going out in space in spacesuits, you know. Guess they
sure.
use droids for that.
What would Han Solo do?
I
Do you
mean, I'm
know?
sure they have them, but
Yeah.
like, you know,
Well, I bet you for things like Trade Federation, capital ships and stuff like that, they're probably under regulations and all. I'm sure a Han Solo dude is not worried about
right.
regulations for
They
his
would
ship.
totally go out there and do that. But,
Yeah,
you know, if you think back on it, though, it's remarkable how little we've ever seen of people in spacesuits in Star
that's
Trek
true.
going out in space.
It felt sci-fi all of a sudden, which Star Wars never really feels sci-fi to me. Almost feels like fantasy in
Yeah.
space, right?
I mean, that almost looks like something out of The Expanse or,
Yeah, yeah.
um,
Now we're getting so the first Jedi we see of the High Republic look
yeah,
and feel with the capes and all that stuff.
the gold colors and all.
Yeah, this was fun. It's a little weird for me the outfits because they look so pristine that they look like cosplayers.
Yeah.
And I understand that it's like a military uniform. They've come from the temple straight here, so of
Yeah.
course
It
it's
should
going to
be
look pristine.
clean. It should be.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it should be that way. Um, I don't know what the solution to that would have
And the
been.
white just underscores the cleanliness of it, you know.
Right. Yeah, and that's the other thing is like I'm not saying there's anything wrong with the costumes. It looks like what you see on the covers of the High
Yeah.
Republic and all that stuff. I think it's great. I like the new look or old look of the Jedi.
Mhm.
And it feels like, after 100 years, of course things are going to look a little bit different and stuff like that. They're using gold and white and things like that.
Mhm. Yeah.
Um, I
I
just
like
don't
this
know what
kid.
it was. Maybe lighting or something would have made it less cosplay look.
Yeah. I like the characters too. And that guy on the left, what's his name?
His name is Yord Fandar.
Yeah, Yord. Okay. So the interesting thing about Yord is like they're always kind of making him the butt of the joke in a way. Like he says something naive and then they go, no, it's really this and that kind of thing. But he does seem like he's very skilled and very competent. He's just kind of a little naive or unknowing
Uh,
about he's
But
unexperienced.
is he? Because he doesn't seem to be too wrong in his caution.
No, he's just like he's very cautious, but he's also said some things and proposed some plans and things like that that were, a little over. He's youngish in his thinking, and so it's well played. I think it makes
In a
sense.
way, I think he's coming at this as like investigator. He was been ordered to grab her and then
Yeah,
take her back to the temple. And
he
there's
just
nothing you
doesn't
can say or
necessarily have
do that's going to
all of
change
the
that.
facts.
Yeah.
So,
He came at it very dispassionately, which you
mhm.
should. And then the older, more wiser Jedi are saying things, well, I think she's innocent and stuff like that. Like, you don't
Yeah,
have any context to say that.
yeah.
So I actually think he's in the right in some of this regard, but they make him look like
Well,
he's
the guy saying I think she's innocent, he has more experience with her. He knows more facts about the situation, about the
what,
people.
like 5 years ago?
Yeah, but I mean, if you knew somebody 5 years ago and you knew them very well and raised them up and trained them, and then you find out
Sure.
something very different, you're going to say this doesn't make sense. Whereas
Sure.
he's just looking at it like you bring in a prosecutor from whatever, the FBI
Right.
or something, they're just going to be like, you know.
Yeah.
So it makes total sense, everything that's happened with both of their characters, I think.
She's a cool species. I'm not sure which species that is, but it's pretty cool looking.
I think it's a wood elf.
It kind of looks like it, yeah.
Yeah, really cool.
But yeah, no, I like their outfits and everything. They definitely stand out as being from the temple and have a very, what is it like? Not egotistical, but a little bit more like we're up here feeling.
Ivory Tower kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah. And, it makes me wonder. I wonder when or how they're going to reveal to us, like, what were the things that led to the Jedi kind of pulling back those remote temples as much and re-centralizing on Coruscant.
Yeah. Yeah. He even kind of uses I guess, I don't know if it's a mind trick or something, but
It looked to me like it might have been a telekinetic, but it's not choking on the throat. It's just kind of like holding him up or,
yeah.
grabbing attention. But it did look physical to me, like he was, pushing him
Yeah.
up.
He was like, oh, like,
Yeah.
pay attention.
Maybe that's more like what Luke was actually doing to those Gamorreans in Jabba's palace than a force choke.
No, they were doing
Maybe
this.
they're not really being choked. Maybe they're just being restrained.
Maybe.
That's okay. I don't know.
I do think this scene where he grabs for his lightsaber because she grabs the.
Yeah.
Yeah. I thought that was interesting.
Because she's under suspicion for murdering a Jedi. So
Yeah.
But I think a more experienced Jedi though wouldn't have to have acted that quickly. But they would have had the skill to react if something happened.
Right.
That's more paranoia than sensing the future or danger sense.
Yeah, and he had his Padawan sitting outside. The Padawan seems almost as old as he is.
Yeah.
Like I don't know how old he is versus her, but yeah, it's a little like it seems like the minute he became a Jedi Knight, he grabbed a Padawan or something. And
yeah, well, Anakin was pretty young when he got a Padawan.
It's true. That's true. Yeah, he was just barely a knight too, right? Yeah. So they sit there. They accuse
so was
her
Obi-Wan when he got his Padawan.
That's true. Maybe they ought to let them learn a little bit more before they be a Jedi Knight for a while. I like that they brought the bartender for confirmation.
We get to see him again. Well, that's a cool suit they made. They're not going to.
Yeah, no.
Yeah, but I like him. Oh,
all right.
This is fun.
This was cool to see the temple.
Some little details different.
Yeah, there's gold rings and stuff at the top of each of the spires, which aren't there later on.
I didn't know.
And yeah, I think there's more gold decoration throughout the whole thing.
There's also, you see the distance between the temple and the base below it? Like it goes up and then it comes out. It's not floating, obviously. It's just like this, I think. Goes in a little ways, then the walls go down. I think if you were to compare this to the scenes of Coruscant in the films, the floor starts right at that edge.
Oh, that's interesting.
Up.
Like they've built out.
Go in and down like that. Those four things that you see in the front there on the bottom, that's even with the floor of Coruscant in the film. So there's been like a layering built up.
That's interesting. Well, we know that Coruscant is just city built on top of each other over and over and over.
So like they've added a few levels and stuff.
Yeah.
And also I think there's not as many high towers in the background as there are later. It'd be fun to compare those pictures. I haven't done it yet. I'm just going off memory, but
yeah. So this scene's it's always fun for me to watch a Jedi teaching a bit of the philosophy. They have to squeeze little bits of philosophy into this action-packed stuff all the time. But I'm always fascinated by they're just everything they're teaching and from
Mhm.
early ages and stuff like that. So I love these scenes.
Well, what's also great about this too is it reminds me of what you did in the Star Wars role playing game that we played when you were the game master,
Hmm.
and you had all the different Jedi masters look at the Force in different ways through a
Mhm.
different lens, and he looks at it through the lens of the ocean and all that kind of stuff. So it reminded me of that, and I think that's a really cool take.
Yeah, this is Master Soul, SOL. And I believe that there's some other like I think there's a pattern of a sun on his armor later
Hmm.
and stuff like that. So I wonder how much all of that is.
Well, all these Jedi come from different. It's weird to say they come from different cultures because they're taken at such a young age, but I think they bring some of that with them, or maybe the Jedi encourage that.
Yeah, well, that's one of the things I was talking to someone else about recently. Is he has such a thick accent that it is clear that the language he's speaking, which is basic in Star Wars, is not his first language.
Right.
And
And
it's so
so,
thick that it makes me think he couldn't have been grabbed at like 3 years old and raised here. Everyone who was raised at the temple should have the same accent.
yeah, but they don't. I mean, like Obi-Wan has an English accent,
Right.
and nope, almost nope. I mean, Mace Windu doesn't have an English
Even
accent.
Qui Gon Jinn didn't have one.
Right. So they all
Anything kind
have
of had
different
a
accents,
American Irish one.
even though they're all raised from babyhood up to. So it makes me think. And also another thing too is that you very commonly see various alien Jedi who incorporated elements of their home planet's culture into their stuff.
Hmm.
So it makes me think that probably what happens is they take him as a baby, but then they say, "Oh, you're from Rhodia or whatever. So we're going to teach you about Rhodian culture, and you're going to wear the little Rhodian necklace on Rhodian Day, and you're going to, whatever their little stuff is, you know,
Yeah.
the Worm Festival or whatever Rhodians do. Then they're going to do that for the Rhodian Jedi, and to maintain some connection with their culture. So yeah, it's kind of weird, and really, it's probably just an artifact of.
Yeah. Now this character Vernestra, um, she is she's apparently a long living. She's the same as what's her name? She was just in the Empire Tales of the Empire.
Oh, she's a Marillion.
Yeah. Instead of the tattoos being here, she has them on top of her head,
I
right?
was wondering if she was just some other Greek species, like a
No,
Flaming or something.
she's that, and she has purple hair naturally because she's in a lot of comic books and movies. I mean, not movies,
Okay.
books and things like that. She's a pretty big character throughout.
I knew she was
Uh,
a character from earlier, but
yeah,
she was younger in those days, so that all happened.
she's. I know in here she's probably over 100 years old.
Okay, I knew she was really old because she said something about him since knowing him since I was a child, and it didn't seem like they were
Right.
children together when she said that.
Yeah.
But
So she's
I don't know
apparently
much
got
about
this
the character.
long-lived, whole character arc that we're not aware of. But yeah,
Okay,
it's making me want to read the books more
yeah,
and
see
get
how
into
far
the other
past.
stuff. Yeah.
Hmm.
Which is probably the point of
And look at this
part of
thing.
it.
Go back to that picture of her again.
Hold on, we'll get to her there. There she is.
No, we'll go back to the exact same picture because there's something in the background I wanted to show you when she first
I'm
walks
not
in.
sure I could do that.
It's when she first walks in. There. See that thing on the right, that red thing?
Uh-huh.
That looks like something that's not Jedi. That's maybe from his culture or something.
Well, it's outside too. It's a tapestry.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Well, maybe it is Jedi then. I don't know. But it's very unusual looking.
Or maybe it's like part of the school part, the Padawan part, or
Maybe.
yeah. I'm fascinated by this temple culture that they have.
Yeah.
I hope we get to see more of that.
This looks like the very same room that those Jedi were training in at the beginning of the Obi-Wan series. It could
Right.
be the room
It could be, yeah, the
It could
same
even
set.
be room that Obi-Wan and Anakin were fighting in the flashbacks.
Yeah, it's very
Yeah,
similar.
have to look at the details of it, but that would be fun.
So there she is with the same sort of tattoos. I believe it's like
That's why I didn't know if she was a Marillion or not, but I get,
right.
guess they could have that.
It's like something personal happens and they add those tattoos.
And Marillion culture also changes after 100 years. So
oh, sure. Yeah, I'm sure. Yeah, she's pretty interesting. I like her. I hope we get more of her. So about Soul though, he's an interesting character. So they already recognize, or she recognizes his wisdom. They're lucky to have you as a teacher, that kind of thing, right?
Mm-hmm.
But he's clearly troubled, like Jedi shouldn't be troubled throughout the whole thing.
Yeah, he does seem too attached. I mean, he explains it away in certain ways, saying we got to remember our past, but he seems too troubled by what happened. But Obi-Wan was definitely troubled by what happened with Anakin and stuff.
Yeah.
So they're not immune to that, I guess.
True. So these droids, we're going to jump to the prison ship. These droids
I like
were
how they
great.
speak.
Yeah, I didn't know that they were chairs right here. I just didn't even
Uh-huh.
think about it. But when they turn off, they turn into chairs.
Yeah.
Which makes me think, do people sit on the droids?
Yeah.
Weird.
When you have normal pilots, you sit there and you pilot it, and when you're
Creepy.
not there, the chair becomes the.
So you're sitting in the lap with a droid?
I know. What's funny about that is that I really like it. It's cool. It's really neat. But what I laughed though because it reminded me of the autopilot balloon in the movie Airplane.
Mm-hmm.
Remember the blow up guy?
I thought the same thing.
The autopilot.
Turn on the autopilot and go.
You thought of that too?
I did too. Yeah, that's funny.
Yeah.
So this was a fun scene where they're like, "Hey, we're gonna break out," and she's like, "No, I'm not gonna be involved with that." And then they immediately break out, and be like, "You said no." But
totally missed opportunity though, because the guy has the droid's arm and he's holding it as they're escaping, and she says, "Give me a hand." He should have thrown in the.
I'm sure that's what they meant.
Yeah.
But this guy with the there's the breakout thing. This guy with the head tongue thing was pretty fun.
Yeah.
Cool. I think they need to use raised shields with these.
That's
guys.
the challenge of a galaxy with so many different species. You don't know everything they can do.
Yeah. That's why you got to freeze them all in carbonite. The only way. This guy. He gave me like evil Lobot feeling.
I know. He's very freaky. And the freakiest thing about him is how right here it goes in like, that part of his head was just cut off.
Right. Yeah. Like, that's not just on a jaw. That's
like, what kind of a person would do that to themselves,
I know. Maybe he didn't have a choice.
We've seen General Grievous went all the way.
That's true.
But
he might not have had a choice.
Yeah, that's wild.
But yeah, with the things over the ears like that, I got like an evil Lobot feeling from this guy.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Well, the droids know not to, like, this guy clearly needs to be turned off. You can't just let this sit there and.
I know. Yeah. They didn't think that he would have some sort of Wi-Fi.
Yeah, I know. So they immediately, take over everything.
Maybe they did. Maybe they scanned his implants, but he had some sort of hidden thing that would like install itself after the fact that allowed him to do that.
And they don't have a database about this head tongue guy, apparently.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I did like the guy. This was kind of fun where she's trying to use her force ability.
She's totally disconnected, kind of like Obi-Wan was.
Right.
At one point.
And then she just lucks out. Oh, yeah. This is where she rips off the head. That freaked me out.
Oh, yeah.
So again, she's not the bad guy at this point because she saves the life of this crazy guy.
Yeah, she seems totally like they weren't even trying to make you think she was really the bad guy, and
Yeah,
I like that ship design, by the way. Pretty
that
cool.
was a cool ship.
Mm-hmm.
I also like how the prison ships are almost always run by droids because
Yeah,
nobody
that's not
wants
because
this
it's
job,
the
I
thing
guess.
we saw with the prison ship in Mandalorian
Right.
that the New Republic was.
There was only like one human on that one. It was a big prison ship, so maybe at a certain level you have to. Yeah, and then she straps herself in. That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
She didn't even try to like get to the cockpit and do anything.
It
Maybe
blew
she
up,
doesn't
it
know how
was
to
on
fly.
fire.
True, but maybe she also doesn't even know how to fly.
I don't know.
You could just not have that skill.
Just on fire, and she couldn't. She knew it wasn't going to work.
Yeah.
But the crash landing there, I mean, it looked like it was possible. It didn't look fake or anything like that. But in addition to that, you would think that some of those ships could have things like braking repulsors and inertial dampeners and stuff like that.
Sure.
Safety kinds of things that make it even more likely that a ship could survive a crash like that.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, she survived. I mean, they did seem surprised that she did. So.
Yeah. See, there you see the temple again from the side, and I'm pretty sure that the temple does not cut in like that on the bottom.
Yeah. That's a cool idea, though.
Mm-hmm.
So again, even his own Padawan is like, you shouldn't be sitting there like reminiscing or whatever you're doing. That's a weird thing.
Mm-hmm.
Padawan, by the way, is played by I think her name is Daphne Keane.
I don't know who that is.
She played X-23 in the movie Logan. Did you see that?
Oh, I remember that, but I don't.
She was also the main character in his Dark Materials in that show.
Okay.
Yeah. She's really good. So I was surprised to see her. I don't know what this is. Zabrak, maybe? Probably not with this.
Well, you know what she looks like to me? If she looks reminiscent of anything to me, she looks reminiscent of whatever that species was of that dancing girl in Jabba's palace with the purple. She also had horns like that. But it looked really different. But maybe this is the same species and she's a blonde and the other one's a purple.
Right.
Whatever. But it could just be a whole new species too.
I like that she's got the Padawan braid.
Yeah.
That's cool. Yeah, I like that the Padawans are not bratty teens or not joking around and all that,
It's this thing that happens in so much science fiction these days, so much series of everything, where everybody in it looks like somebody who lives in LA. They act like somebody who lives in LA.
Right.
It's like, I call it the Xena Warrior Princess feel. Like when you watch a show and it's like, this is medieval fantasy, but they're walking around going, well, you're a loser, and they're just saying all these. I'm glad that's not in this series.
Yeah.
Not that you have fun with those series, but I don't want that in Star Wars. This
scene I had a problem with, though. It's bad cutting. How do they have these people already? She hasn't even woken up
out loud because it's like, oh, we're getting away, and then just next scene they're in the prison cells. Like,
I know, they didn't get away at all. Yeah. But whatever ship came by and scooped them up, why didn't they just scan down there and go, oh, there's a life sign down there?
They said they scanned the wreckage and they didn't detect any life forms, and I thought that was really weird.
Yeah, that is weird.
They actually used the word scanned and said did not detect any life.
But the very next scene here is her waking up. She's not covered in snow. Everything else is.
So maybe they went back a little bit to show us what happened before the ship got there to scan.
Because she's there for like 5 minutes before they show up.
Well, she could have been. They could have shown up a day later.
That's what I'm saying. Is she's just kind of walking around.
Yeah, I mean, this could be like.
She crashes.
She's sitting there. She does all this stuff.
I guess. I think it was bad editing. They should have
Yeah.
showed her wake up.
That really should have happened first.
Yeah.
Yeah, because it definitely, I can only interpret that as a flashback.
Now,
It's
see, now they're in
us
travel
being-
clothes.
Huh?
So now they're in travel clothes. They've
Yeah.
taken off the white and all that stuff.
Yeah. Same people, right?
Yeah.
Huh.
That's Master Soul and what's her name?
Well, they always dressed like that, though.
Jackie Lawn. But no, we just saw them in white right there.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, okay. Yeah, interesting. Okay.
Now they've changed into their we're going to go out there and not look all high and mighty kind of robes.
Well, maybe it's like in Starfleet. You got your dress uniforms and you got your...
Yeah. I don't know why they had to have the shirtless scene. But whatever.
Yeah.
It's a fun little ship. So here she is. It feels like she just woke up, turns around, see this figure, runs out there, and then they show up like 5 seconds later. Like the timing just feels really weird.
Okay, now see what I originally thought, though, because of this thing you're talking about, is that they scanned, didn't detect any life forms, even though she was in there, and then they left, and then she wakes up and does all this stuff. Now, sequentially, that would make sense, but it leaves me wondering, why wouldn't they have detected her life form?
Yeah, maybe it was just so cold and the heat. I don't know.
Yeah, maybe it's an imperfect thing. They failed their scan roll. You know, whatever.
So they do this thing. I don't know what's going on here. So what is happening here? Because it's not her sister contacting her.
Well, it's a vision, obviously, but how do you know it's not her sister contacting?
Because her sister doesn't even know she's alive.
Right, right. It's got to be the master, the he they're talking about.
Could be.
Doing this to try to manipulate events.
It could also be some kind of subconscious link that neither one of them is familiar with.
Oh, since they're twins, maybe
Yeah.
subconsciously, maybe
We know they might have that force
dreaming right
dyad.
now and projecting her, you know, and then when she wakes up, she thinks it's just a dream.
They might have that force dyad thing.
Maybe. Or maybe it's just being twins. I don't know.
Yeah.
Like identical twins instead of fraternal.
Then she goes evil. So maybe it is the master. Look at her eyes.
Yeah. I could believe it either way. I could think maybe it was a subconscious connection. Or maybe it was the master pretending.
Okay, well, I didn't see this the first time, but everything up until this point was in her head.
Yeah.
She didn't wake up the first time.
Oh, right.
So
right.
she's been asleep this whole time.
Yeah, because it goes back to the ship. Right. Mm-hmm.
Right. Okay. That's a little bit better that she's been unconscious this whole time. But how long did it take them to go grab up these people, take them down
Well,
to
those
the
guys
Jedi?
left an escape pod, so they were somewhere outside the planet.
Sure.
Then they had to say, okay, where's the ship? If we got the escape pods, now let's go track down the ship and go scan around on the planet to find it and all that.
Yeah. I like, just like in Ahsoka, I like the conversations between Padawan and Knight or Master, just to see. But again, it's the sharing of the philosophies and the teachings and stuff. That's just fascinating to me. I like it. I like that. What's his name? Yord back there is like scanning the screen, but those screens still look like
with the circles and the
yeah,
and stuff
of how they do in episode 4 and stuff. Yeah. Yeah, these are great scenes with them.
Got to maintain that Star Wars aesthetic, you know.
So this is a cool thing. This is like, remember in episode, I think it's 2, where Obi-Wan Kenobi has that disconnect piece that does the hyperdrive for him, and then his fighter comes off.
The ring.
So this whole thing is like that too.
Hyper ring.
Yeah, this is their hyper bit, and then the little ship comes off of it.
It does?
Yeah. Here, play a little bit of it. See?
Oh, it's like a little lander shuttle or something.
Yeah.
Huh. That's cool.
I don't think there's anything else but these hyper rings.
Yeah, I hadn't noticed that. That's
And
cool.
this big clamp here looks like it could hook onto something bigger too. So maybe it's adaptable to different ship sizes.
Oh, interesting. Yeah, you might be right there. Seems logical.
So she's running around. Again, she finds the same cave, I think, as she did in her vision. So somehow that vision knew what was around her, or at least maybe a similar one. I didn't get this scene here. She gets to the edge. Who hangs out on the edge? Like you're like, oh, that looks bad, right? You got to have the fugitive scene where he appears behind.
Well, was she seriously thinking about committing suicide? And just
I know, that's what I'm wondering about. Is like, it was just a weird scene to have her sitting there and just looking over the edge and thinking like. And then whenever he appears, her first thought is, "I should move away from him." Like
she don't want to be arrested for murder.
She was already arrested for murder. If anybody, this is a guy that she knows. She went with them quietly. Why would she go like, "Oh, I'm going to throw myself off the edge"? It was a weird forced scene to me. It just felt like just to have him like stop her and then have her.
Kind of reminds me of The Fugitive. Remember when?
Yeah, that's what I just said. It's like that fugitive scene where.
Oh, I thought you just.
I didn't kill my wife.
Yeah. Word.
I didn't kill that Jedi.
Yeah.
I don't care. Well, Yord doesn't care anyway.
Yeah, you're right. It's kind of weird, given what we know about her and their past now.
Yeah. I do like their relationship. It's interesting.
It doesn't help having the dude with the lightsaber out already in the background, but
sure, but he was just doing that for light.
Yeah, but she doesn't know that, and so that probably should have been. Yord should have probably known to turn it off. So I thought when I first saw this that it was Octo or Octo.
The same planet that Luke was on.
Yeah,
I heard someone else.
But they tell you the name of it.
Yeah. So there he is.
Can you zoom
or she,
in?
I guess. Could be a she.
Wait till it. No, they said he.
Oh, okay. That's right. Later on, they say he.
Yeah. Zoom into that. Can you zoom in?
No, not really.
Oh, wow.
But I mean, all it is silhouette on purpose anyway.
Yeah. A helmeted figure.
Yeah. The weird thing is we have no, like you said, there's no hook because we have no context before this. So why the helmet? It's not like they're going to reveal themselves and we go, oh, it's you. Like,
maybe there's
unless it's in Dara.
Or a helmet.
You're like, what?
What they really look like,
I guess. I mean, unless it's someone who is already out there.
Could be.
Like what if it turns out to be Vernestra, right?
Who's that?
The green with the tattoos.
Oh no.
Well, that's what I'm saying is like if it wasn't Star Wars, we'd be saying, why are they hiding the face?
I think in episode 2, I have some theories to talk about.
Okay.
But it connects to things that happen in episode 2. So.
Yeah.
Have to watch that video.
But anyway, this was the first episode. I thought it was fun. There was lots of fun stuff to it.
Yeah.
But I didn't feel, like you said, I wasn't like, oh, I got to watch the next one. I definitely did watch the next one. But
I did really love the thing that you hear the probably Sith guy saying about the Jedi live in a dream and you got to kill the dream. It's like neat little perspective lesson stuff, for the
you
Sith
can't
side.
kill Jedi because
Yeah.
Jedi is an idea. You have to kill the idea. Yeah. It's a weird thing to say after she did kill a Jedi with steel, but I know what he means, like, or metaphorically, like you're not doing anything unless you actually kill the idea.
And when he says kill without a weapon, I think he means not, beat him up with your hands. I think he means like manipulate events in such a way where they end up losing without you ever having to be revealed or present, in a very like
Well,
without a weapon,
I know that there's a comic book. I didn't read it, but I saw some stuff about it. I know there's a comic book about right after episode 3 where Vader doesn't have a lightsaber yet. And Palpatine says for your trial, you have to go kill a Jedi with no weapon.
Oh.
And so he goes and kills the Jedi, and that's where he gets the lightsaber crystal and, bleeds it and all that stuff. And that's where he has his lightsaber. So maybe they're playing on that.
Maybe, although it's not for a lightsaber, we know that. But
well, it might be.
Well, she left the lightsaber on the ground after having successfully.
But she used a weapon.
Oh, so
maybe you don't get to do it.
Yeah.
So, but anyway, so that was episode 1, Lost/Found. I think the next one has a similar title, and we'll talk about that in the next episode. And leave us your comments, likes, subscribes, all that stuff. Hit the bell to see the next one coming out, and let us know what you think.
Take care.
Thanks, everybody.